Hello, I am Rich Passon. It is May 18th. This is a brief update of the economy in terms of our business cycle model analysis. You're looking at a chart of U.S. unemployment rate, and I'm showing you 9-year cycles. It's only one type of cycle. We have several cycles in our model, but this is a major long-term cycle. It relates to the economy when the economy grows for about 7 to 12 years. Then the economy contracts and falls into a recession for about 1 to 3 years. You add those two trends together and you come up with a bottom every 8 to 13 years, which relates to a recession. And then for the top, it will equate to 8 to 13 years for the peak of the economy. Now for unemployment, it's an inverse, and so we have a top every 9 years, the highest rate of unemployment. It coincides with the recession, a 9-year cycle bottom for the economy. Therefore, 9-year cycle bottoms for unemployment would coincide with the 9-year cycle top or peak for the economy. The forecast had been for a dramatic increase in unemployment during the late 2000s and relating to super cycles. In fact, it probably, for the economy itself, it related to a 72-year cycle. Unfortunately, for unemployment, we don't have enough history to prove that type, but we believe there's enough evidence to assume a 27-year cycle top for unemployment, bottom for the economy. So, we had been bearish unemployment, therefore bullish employment, bullish the economy. Since then, you can see now we have a speeding down trend. Remember all the people complaining that we were going down the wrong path and we weren't going to have a good economy. It wasn't speeding up fast enough. And lo and behold, now it is speeding up. At least for unemployment, it's speeding down. So we must be adding jobs. Now, some people complain that we're really not adding that many jobs, that some people are just leaving the workforce and there's something wrong with that. Well, that's not perhaps the best scenario, but it's still actually a good scenario. If those people are leaving and leaving permanently, then they could afford to leave. Therefore, so sad, goodbye. I'm fine with it. It means still lower unemployment. The economy is growing. Great thing for them to leave. Okay? Now, if they're leaving to go on welfare or some other structure that's just not right and costing us further down the road or something like that, then that is not a good thing. Right at the moment, I'm sure there's a little bit of that, but I think it's mostly people saying, I'll take early retirement, I'm out of here. Some of those people can actually afford just live home, mom, dad, and or maybe they're just old enough to kind of go into take a break for a while, and I wouldn't be surprised they're going to be back in a couple of more years as the economy is improving. Then what are you going to say? Okay, now we'll have unemployment not necessarily going down anymore, but we actually have employment going higher. Suddenly what is negative today would be very positive tomorrow. At any rate, bottom line is unemployment's going down, and that's good enough for me. I'm not really caring all that much of the internals of it. It is what it is. And it's going to continue to speed lower to towards the end of this decade when we'll have a 9-year cycle bottom for unemployment. And then we're going to see a spike up for 1 to 3 years. Actually, unemployment can stay up longer than the economy can actually stay down, or longer than a recession can last. So it could be up to 4 years. We'll have some kind of spike there at the end of this decade. But forget all these end-of-world cult people, okay? It's going to be a standard recession. No crash and burn. We had our opportunity in 2008, 2009 to level everything, to wipe everybody out, to have the crash and burn moment. We didn't do it. We managed it, and the managers won. Okay? Over and done with, just a standard recession, and then we're just going to go on for even a better economy next decade. Now let's switch to something else. And that something else is U.S. Industrial Production Index. It has moved to a new record high. It was slower pace for improvement. Nominal GDP per capita did make a new record high earlier than the Industrial Production Index. So there was some complications there of slow growth. It still looks kind of slow to me. But the point is, it's at a new record high. Now let's look at the ISM Procurement Manufacturing Index, also called PMI. There's also another one put out by Market, HSBC or something like that, and I do follow that somewhat as well. At any rate, I use the PMI in the sense that if it drops below 45, probably in a recession. I prefer 42. And when it's below 50, you got a slow down contraction. Now, other people tell you if it's at 50 or lower, it's a contraction. I argue 50 is actually positive, and I use it in other formulas, and it really doesn't make much of a difference. But I think the true definition is actually 50 and lower is negative, and over 50 is positive. I currently say 50 and higher is positive. At any rate, when it's above 50, the economy is growing. This still works well, even though our country is progressing down the path of more service industries. We find that the manufacturing index works very well as a clue for how the economy is doing. Well, you can see we've had some good growth here above 50. We did see a slam dunk right at the end of the year. We had the severe winter weather. Even the Federal Reserve says it did impact the economy. But by April, we were already seeing improvement, and even the Federal Reserve said they could detect business activity was improving. I think this indicator can zigzag up and down by large amounts and kind of distract us and cause problems, but in general, it's going to have a bullish bias into 2015, so the economy is growing into 2015. Now, remember the 9-year cycle for the economy is actually growing to 2017 to 2019, so yes, the 3-year cycle can cause some sizable setbacks, maybe even every other year or a little less frequently. But the bottom line is stay focused on that larger trend of a growing economy towards the end of this decade. Now this is my version of it's actually a cumulative study of the PMI. And yes, we're saying if it's under 50, subtract it from the previous month. If it's 50 or higher, add it to the previous month. We've done this from the 1950s. What I learned quite some time ago is it actually has a high, strong, positive correlation to nominal GDP per capita. So if we see this indicator making new highs, we just assume nominal GDP per capita is also making new highs. We actually have a bigger economy today than ever before, despite sluggish GDP and sluggish other business statistics, and some people still saying we've barely got out of the recession. Now, recession's over. We're in a regular growth trend. And from 2009, just add 7 to 12 years. That's your growth trend. And then you're going to have 1 to 3 years of recession. Here's a recession. This is a recession. Again, this is a cumulative study of the PMI. Notice the growth. It reduces or filters out some of the fluctuation during the year. And I like that because it shows this 9-year cycle a little bit easier than what you will see trying to find it on just raw PMI. But notice this wonderful trend from the 2009 recession bottom. And using this indicator, we called the bottom within 1 month of the bottom of this PMI. And we just said that's the bottom for the recession. And we think that opinion is as good as any other. I realize there's other statistics saying, no, the bottom was a little later. Other statistics saying it was earlier. And then you have the total opinion, the aggregate opinion of economists and the government saying when it bottomed. But I really like what we're looking at here. And again, within 1 month of the bottom was our model-based call. At any rate, this should just continue to trend higher. It's pounding out new record highs. It doesn't bother me. Percent GDP is not all that strong. I think the country will be happier, more prosperous than what we realize relative percent GDP, so long as we can see nominal GDP and nominal GDP per capita and some of the more trending kind of statistics actually moving higher, and we have this at this point in time. Bottom line is, yes, there can be little fluctuations throughout the remainder of this year. There can be scares. We can get a poor month with some business statistics. But my guess is the economy grows into 2015, may see a little bit of a hiccup there in 2015, and then still grows in 2016, 2017. I don't think we have to worry about a recession to near the end of this decade. Thank you.